Hello and welcome back. Uh-oh. I got to get my There we go. Okay. There we go. Welcome back. Oh. I better pull her back. There we go. That looks good. Got the board set up. We're doing well. Welcome back to another episode of the Vocal Journeyman. So glad that you could check us out. And got a really good show for you. I just got back off of some vocal rest. And this is a perfect time for me to talk about another foundational piece of the puzzle here. And that foundational piece is vocal health, overall vocal health. So thanks a lot for stopping in. We're gonna get going without ado here. So if you were to follow up and take a look at, build on some of the basic discussions about anatomy maybe that we had so far and learn a little bit more about it, and think about it in the context of this being a system in your body, all of it, right? I mean, the diaphragm, the lungs, right? The larynx, the throat, the resonators, all of that, the ears, right? These are all important parts of the overall system. And just like an athlete in any sport can actually damage their body, okay? So too with your voice. Now, I want to give this disclaimer up front here, and I'm going to mention it again later, because I am not attempting to start a channel here called the Vocal Hypochondriac. And I have that weakness. And as you start learning about your voice, it is tempting to take every little thing that's going on and be like, what? Why was that happening? What's going on? Okay. So I'll try to, I'm not a doctor. Okay. And I think if you have any concerns as we go through this and I talk about this, seek out a doctor. Why not? Why not? Just to make sure, right, that everything's okay. But I just got back off of vocal rest, and I usually sometimes if I get to where, as I'm trying to learn new material, maybe I start falling back into some old habits that are bad habits. Maybe I start pushing a little bit, or maybe I've got some sinus issues going on, so I'm not really balancing very well. And then my voice will start to get hoarse, and I've been, I find that about 4 days, 5 days, that's the most I've ever really had to take for a vocal rest is 4 or 5 days. And, the outer layers of your vocal cords are being replenished all the time. So unless you have a very significant sort of strain going on, just taking a break. I'm not saying don't talk during that time. And if you look this up, you'll see that's not what anybody's talking about. But step off of the singing just for a little bit and reboot and do some self-care. Do some self-care. Self-care is not just the idea of all the healthy habits we're going to talk about here. Self-care is also taking some time to reboot from psychologically and even spiritually to refresh and remember why you love singing in the first place, right? All right. So first thing I've got for you guys, I've got some links here. Some of these I will just point you to. I won't play the videos. Pretty sure if it's out there publicly on YouTube, and this is educational, I get fair use out of it, but I don't want to get caught on the wrong side of that. So, okay. Notice, vocal health, you only get one voice. Now, I did just see a science blurb the other day saying that they now have a new gel-like biomaterial they created in the lab that they could use to rehabilitate damaged cords, but far better to just, stay healthy to begin with, right? Yeah, far better. So, singers, you are vocal athletes. You are an athlete. The same way that an athlete trains their body to do what they do, you want to train. And that includes healthy habits. Okay? So here's some healthy habits for singers. Avoid clearing your throat. And my understanding is the reason you avoid clearing your throat is because it creates the cords slammed together when you try to clear your throat like that. It creates a hard glottal stop. And that can be difficult for your voice. Try to avoid yelling and whispering. So even though there are some people who do a kind of vocal therapy that is a yell, but it's not a bald-faced yelling at the top of your lungs. It's just it's a louder thing. Okay. And this is a therapy I saw out there that was related to people who have really weak voices. Same thing. If you think you're going to be a singer, but you never talk at all, probably the mechanism here is not developed the way that it's going to need to be to move on into singing. So doing a little more talking or having some exercises that can really strengthen the voice is important. But generally speaking, yelling and whispering are difficult for your voice. Whispering can be difficult for your voice because in whispering, a lot of you still hear the words that you're saying, but a lot of the vowels are devoiced in that time, and there's a tremendous amount of air coming across your vocal cords. And so whispering a lot can dry out the vocal cords a lot, okay? I think it goes without saying that you want to avoid drugs, alcohol, and smoking. And so, you got to make those choices for yourself, right? But if you're trying to become a singer so you can live the rock star lifestyle, those two trains are heading toward one another. So keep that in mind. Okay. And what about performing? Well, when you go out to perform, assuming we've done the proper self-care so that we can handle whatever might happen while we're performing, right? Dealing with bandmates, that guy in the audience who just stares you down or whatever, all the different things that can come up. I mean, typically people will say, when you sing, the people out in the audience want you to succeed. And I think that's basically true, right? That's basically true. So if you get the basic moxie to get up there and just try and give them something, a lot of people are going to appreciate that. And you got to do it. You got to learn it. Performance is an art as well. And performance is a sport as well. So singing is a sport within the bigger sport, I guess, might be a way to say it. So when you're performing, consider the humidity and the temperature of the room. You want it to be warm in that room, but not hot. About a 65% humidity air is ideal, okay? And hydration. You need to be drinking water at least about 2 hours before you go to sing because your body has to be hydrated. Now, if your body is not hydrated, you can tell because your urine will be off-colored. You really ideally would want your urine when you pee to be clear because what will happen if you don't have enough hydration is your body is going to start putting that hydration in places that it thinks are more important than your voice. Okay? So it will actually shunt that away and you'll get dried out easier. There you go. See, I just did that. Cleared the throat as I'm talking. Okay, so I want to start with a website that I can point you guys to where I got most of this, and it's not the only good one out there, but over at Duke University, I got the Duke Voice Care Center, vocal health information at the Duke Voice Care Center. And they give you a nice long list right here of all sorts of things. The vast majority of these things that are in this simple little pamphlet are dead on the money, and they're not coming from just a person who likes to sing and then figured that out for themselves and then decided these are the things I found out over many years of losing my voice that I shouldn't do. These are people on the academic side of the study of the human voice. So not just for singers, but they mention some specific things for singers in here. It's a really, really good resource for you to check out. Okay. Breezers, Thayer's Slippery Elm lozenges, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So let's move on. Here's some special tips from that same document for singers, right? Be sure to warm up your voice before singing and cool down your voice after singing. Semi-occluded vocal tract exercises are great for that. Lip trills and other types of things like that. Tongue trills, bubbles. It's really quite soothing. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. Consider taking voice lessons to learn how to sing without hurting your voice. That's useful. It's useful. Learn to use your speaking voice in a healthy way by consulting a voice trainer or speech pathologist. Okay. Know your vocal limits and stay within them: pitch, loudness, and endurance. Now, because if you really want to be a singer, you are trying to become the vocal athlete, right? And so if you always stay within your limits, okay, right? So it's really developing pitch up and down the range, control of loudness up and down the range, and endurance, right? Those are all aspects that are clear that we know. Anybody, if you're any kind of an athlete, you know that these things are important, okay? Rest your voice before and after a big singing day. That makes sense, right? But basically, you do want to warm up even, before, even during that day. You don't want to not use your voice at all and then suddenly be like, bang, we're going to go. We're going, partner. You got to keep a basic set of fitness exercises in your regimen regularly, right? Because if you go to rest your voice, which I just said, I just got off of vocal rest, you don't see Michael Jordan when he gets done. Yeah, okay, whatever he did in his life, right? But what he didn't do when he, before a big game to just take the nerve off, he wouldn't sit there and just knock on 10 pounds and lie around and just completely let himself go. There's a continual kind of state of readiness that you're trying to stay in for these things. Okay, that makes sense. Stop singing before you get tired. If you feel tired, you may have already done too much. That kind of makes sense. I mean, if you're learning and you go that little bit beyond, and then all of a sudden, I did it, right? I pushed myself that little bit beyond here, and I'm going to let it go. The other night I was singing, and I'm working so hard on finding my mixed voice, learning how to get all the different pieces of mixed voice put together for myself so that I have total confidence in using that mechanism. And I got to a point in that I was having a fantastic night. Just everything was coming together. And then I started getting more into some of that singing where I'm not just using mixed voice, but I'm starting to put a little bit of huskiness into the voice. I'm starting to put a little bit more compression. I'm starting to try to get some distortion. And I got tired quick doing that. So it was a check for me because I realized that the night had been going really, really well. Everything was going well. I had all the components mixed in, and all of a sudden, that tired me out quickly, and that gave the old soft palate a little bit of a trauma session right there. And so I think I'm gonna dial that back. And I was able to bring it back, to calm it down, and come back off of that, and not and finish the night strong. But again, I mean, imagine being, I don't even know what that feels like, but imagine being in front of 10,000 people and you get to song number 3 and your voice is like, I ain't going there. I don't want to go there. Right? Yeah. As they say, luck favors the prepared, right? Okay. So this is an interesting tip. This is from this Duke thing. It says, try not to spend your voice on learning the music. Learn the music by listening rather than by singing. Now, this is an interesting piece of advice, and again, if you tend to be a hypochondriac kind of a person, what I'm about to say to you might make you be like, whoa, but you have to train it. You have to learn your limits, but you have to grow those limits, right? Especially pitch. Pitch and endurance are two big things. Loudness, you're not really ever trying to be super loud when you sing. In fact, some of the greatest singing is actually quite quiet. It's quite quiet, and you'd be surprised at the kind of gnarliness that you can get into quiet singing. But every single time that you speak, where your chords come together, you're taking a little off of those chords. That outer layer, which is a mucus layer on the outside, and then underneath it is the epithelium. And if you basically just overdo that, you're shaving that down and you're getting close to having the epithelium itself touching. And once that starts touching, because the chords vibrate so fast, it's going to heat up, you're going to get a callus, and it's going to lead to some of the things you'll see a little later on in today's presentation. So you don't want to do that, okay? So it's good advice. I've run into some people who were singers who one fellow I knew in high school, he would sing and then he wouldn't talk. He wouldn't feel like he could talk, and then he developed this habit of never talking. I mean, bad talking can be bad for your voice. That's fine. Understood. But, you know, let's not take it to extremes, right? Because a healthy voice, what you'll see if you look around, you talk to, just get in and talk to any of the leading vocal instructors. A lot of these guys, they're singing intermittently for 8 hours a day as they give lessons. So a fully healthy human voice is very resilient, but it is also important, I think, to have, and this is what you see in the literature, it's important to have good habits. It's important to care for it and view it as a really valuable commodity, because it is. As we said at the start, you only get one voice. All right, so I really encourage you guys to take a good look at this. It's really well done, and it's kudos to the Duke, kudos to the Duke Voice Care Center for putting such a great document out here. It's very concise, very easy to understand, and it has really good recommendations in it. So I'll leave that out there for you. So the next thing we want to start to do is I want to start to talk to you guys about how we head toward ill health. So let's suppose that we've been doing any of the things that can really strain our voice. Could be too much singing, could be too much talking, could be too much putting acid down your throat. You might have acid reflux and stuff like that, okay? And you don't realize that that's also taking a toll. Famously, I think recently I heard Lionel Richie had all but lost his voice, and they ended up diagnosing him with some kind of reflux. And once they properly got it diagnosed, he was able to get back to singing again. So that's very encouraging right there. And that's important to understand too. Before we go here, if you have a queasy stomach, prepare yourself. But a lot of these injuries, if they ever get that bad for you, a lot of them can be healed, okay? But you're going to need the help of a professional if it gets beyond the place where you need vocal rest for 4 or 5 days and then you come back and you feel strong again. If it gets beyond that, where it's rolling 2 weeks or more, you're going to want to find somebody who is trained as a medical professional and talk to them. That would be very wise to do. Okay, so let's take a look at the next issue that maybe of swelling check by Dr. Robert Bastian. Now, I have not implemented this yet, but I am thinking about implementing this. And I'm trying to be careful. I don't think there would be a problem with me playing some of these videos that are truly by educational people, like the doctor. So I want to go ahead and play a little bit of this for you so that you can hear this. Let me go ahead and get this dialed up.
Swelling checks. Vocal fold swelling checks are designed to let you detect vocal fold injury early, even before you would know it is there if you didn't use the swelling checks. And the point of it is that if you catch vocal fold injury early, you can avoid something like this happening to your voice. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Think of it this way. Our voices are often dressed up with layers of clothing. We use loudness as a layer of clothing, or focus, or resonance, or vowel shading. But these layers of clothing, sometimes called vocal technique, can cover up the presence of vocal fold swelling or injury. So with these swelling checks, we're going to remove those layers of clothing from the voice. These swelling checks are purely for early detection of any possible injury, and they're not for voice grooming or development, and they're certainly not for performance. Now back a step. What part of the vocal fold is it that can swell? Well, it's called mucosa. Mucosa is the lining tissue in our mouths, in our nose, down in the throat, in the airway here. And just as skin is to the outside of the neck and the rest of us, outside of the neck and all of the outside of us, just so mucosa lines the inside of us. Now, vocal fold mucosa right here is very special. It's made for vibration, and it is the sound source of the voice. And yet, the very vibration mucosa is designed for, if it goes too far, if it's excessive, that vibration can cause swelling or bruising. Now, both simple early swelling and simple bruising are easy and fast to resolve if they're detected early. But if they're not detected early and they're maintained, we keep concealing with clothing, and we don't pay attention to the signals of that swelling, then over time, we can, without really fully recognizing that we're doing it, we can develop nodules or polyps, kinds of injuries that take quite a bit longer, that are much more difficult to resolve than early simple swelling.
Okay, so I'm going to move on and just throw a little bit down here of what he's doing.
Initial mucosal sealing. Now I can make it work by just getting louder at those initial, and you know that.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. This is worthy of it.
That one.
Okay.
Checks, but
here's the swelling checks.
Two seem to be sufficient, and let me tell you what they are. We use the first phrase of happy birthday, and we often change the words almost to happy birthday do you, because it's easier to sing in a very connected, so we want to keep it very connected, and it goes like this. Happy birthday to you. Just the first phrase, not the whole song. So that includes high and soft. Then the second check is staccato. It's that one targets not just high and soft, but also a lot of onsets. Now each of these two checks is repeated semitone by semitone to find what we call your initial mucosal sealing. So let me demonstrate with the happy birthday. You might do.
Okay. So I don't want to run the whole video because this will get really long. But go ahead and watch what he's doing there, and you will see he's going to establish a ceiling for you of what that healthiness is. And that's talking about, healthy mucosa that comes together and can give you a light connected sound. And you're going to get a pitch. And if that pitch that you have as your average starts to vary too much, it's a sign that there's swelling going on. I'm going to say thank you to Dr. Bastian. I have not incorporated this into my daily routine yet, but I am planning on doing that. And my daily routine is building and building just the basic workout every day, right? Every day. I don't actually sit down and sing challenging songs every day. I'm trying to do that about every other day because I'm still building the strength of my voice, and there's good results that are coming. So I hope you'll follow through on that and look out more of Dr. Bastian's work. The next guy that and I know a little bit about this guy, Dr. Joseph Stemple, and I've got a adult speech therapy here. This is really, really fun stuff. And I want to see, I think I've got his video here where he talks a little bit about this. Very enjoyable. I actually did this. I actually did vocal function exercises with my daughter. And she actually passed to the level that he expected that you would. I think I hit about 72%. They were looking for 80% to get through it. That was a while ago. So, things are feeling much healthier now, but I think part of the problem was also that I was still not really taking training seriously. But she passed those tests and did very well with it. But the vocal function exercises are a useful way for you to gauge, and there's nothing wrong. You can actually get these exercises if you go to MedBridge or something like that. Build this in. Build in the notion of the health of your voice. I mean, it just seems wise, right? It just seems wise. Okay, so check out Dr. Joseph Stemple. He's got some really good exercises there. I wanted to show you guys something that I've been doing here. Yeah, straw phonation exercises. This is also something that I'm incorporating, and I'm finding it to be very, very fun. Very, very fun. I'll even show you. So basically, you get yourself a cup of water and a straw. Some people advocate for a bigger straw. I don't know. And you get about 2 inches of that down in there. You get a nice supported breath. And you just work that. So you breathe that through there. You, try to get a steady airflow in there. Work it, not too fast, but also going slow. And then you go in and you phonate with that, right? So you're like, okay. I'm letting it all go through my nose now. Let's see if I can get a good one going. Let's see. Okay. It's really fun. I gotta make sure I'm not. It can get really kind of splashy, so I gotta watch out in here. I got all sorts of electronics going in here. Those are part of semi-occluded vocal tract exercises. I find it to be a lot of fun because I can focus on the bubbles there, and I can see how quick those bubbles are coming out, and then I can connect that to the pitches that I'm getting and the things I'm getting behind that. Now, of course, where am I vocalizing with that? You're getting back pressure into the oral cavity, and most of that is nasal pharynx. So this seems like an exercise that would help one learn the pressure balance that you need for mixed voice. So another thing that I've got on the docket. This is Katerina H. I'm not going to watch the video. I did watch it before, so we know she's here, and I thought it was a really good video with some good advice and was fun stuff. Okay, so there's a really fun thing. Okay. Well, if you have a queasy stomach, get ready. You may want to close your eyes for this. And take a look over at Dr. Bastian's photo gallery of vocal injuries and different kinds of vocal pathologies. And I'm only putting this up here for a little bit, so you can go ahead and take a look at this. I mean, I just feel for anyone who has these kinds of problems. I mean, heaven forbid. It just horrendous. Okay. These are the kinds of things. Cancer is not, I don't think it's linked to abuse of the voice. So that's a different sort of a thing. But a lot of these things down here are related to abuse of the voice, and or if you ever have to get tubed, you go in for a medical emergency and they shove a tube down your throat, it can actually damage your vocal cords. So go ahead and take a look at that. And, I mean, is that the scare me straight moment for all you guys out there who are like, drinking like fish, smoking like a electric coal, power plant, and screaming at the kids all day long. Hopefully. All right. So, vocal rest. Now, I want to make a disclaimer here because at the same time that by fair use, this becomes sort of free advertising for many of the sites and the teachers that I'll put up here, I also want to mention to you that I am not necessarily endorsing any of the information you find through any of these sites at a deeper level. I'm simply commenting and helping us to learn and seeing things that are helpful. Okay. So this comes from Sing Without Limits. It's Caddy Power. And I think she's pretty well known. The truth about vocal rest, why it's better to sing. Now, I'm not going with her video, but encouraged to go ahead and, take a look at it, right? But some people think, again, they have that idea that what you should do is basically Just don't sing. You need rest, so just don't sing. Well, even when I take hardcore rest, I'm talking and I do vocal warm-ups. A lot of times it's real fun to get some steam. If you look in that Duke document, you'll see that steam can help. So you go take a hot shower and you just get really relaxed in there and just do those little basic warm-ups and get that steam coming in and around in there, right? But keep doing a little bit every day. I had heard somewhere, it was a voice therapy site, and somebody asked, how long does it take to recondition a voice that has been allowed to be completely lax? And they were saying anywhere from 2 weeks to a month of exercises if you've totally just let it go. Any of you who know what it's like to let your body go in any way, you know that sometimes you let it go and it don't come back as easily anymore. So it's better to maintain good habits along the way. All right, so where are we going? Just about done here. I got to point out another thing that I've been doing. Well, of course, I've been learning not to snack too late in the evening because I get a little bit of acid reflux coming up at night sometimes, and that is death for your vocal cords. But I got a new popcorn maker, and I mean, this popcorn is amazing. It's like it's like movie theater popcorn. So I'm going to, at the start of one of these videos, I'm going to take you guys and show you my popcorn maker that somebody bought for me somewhat against my will, but now that I have it, it really feels quirky and fun. So, all right, so that's one thing. Let's go ahead over here because I'm going to segue in the future. I want you guys to see where I'm going here. Mimicry is going to be on the docket. I'm going to get a healthy drink here. Wash that popcorn down. My big pursuit is mixed voice, and I'm learning about the parts that make mixed voice happen. The importance of nasal resonance. I'll be trying to bring some papers in and convince you, if I can, that the science does understand what mixed voice is. It's maybe a little nascent yet, but it's there, and it's growing. And what else? We're going to get on to talking about the culture and the business of singing. Make sure we have our expectations set. Make sure I have my expectations set right. I mean, I'm an old guy. What am I going to do? Take the world by storm? Come on. All right. So I'm going to pull this up, and I want to see again, just finish this up with a little bit of what the nasal resonance can do. And it's a lot of people will teach you to get into the nasal resonance by crying. You're going to cry. Ramble on. Ooh, time to sing my song. Ooh, got a baby, gotta sing my song. As you can see, that's sitting up at that C5, and that's a little chunk of ramble on. Now, maybe I got too much cry in there, but I want you to know that because I was allowing some nasal resonance there, okay, the nasopharynx was engaged right there. I was able to keep a back pressure, and that had a sense of thickness to it that I could work from there and adjust that to try to make it be more authentic, really, as a performance of Ramble On. Okay, so I want to encourage you again. Some people will tell you that mixed voice is a unicorn that you'll never find. I need to tell you that mixed voice is a reality, and people who find proper mixed technique, they find a central place in their voice from which you can go to any other room in the house. And the reason for that is because of the central role that the pharynx and the nasopharynx play in good resonance and in the feedback of pressure that happens around the glottis. Okay? Call it a hypothesis. If you can disprove it, I'm all ears. But that's what the research is starting to show. So there we go. I'm so glad that you guys stopped in. And until next time, man, sing with joy. God bless.